slowly just let go. Notice I'm turning to the other side, but I don't even look like I'm trying to turn to the other side. I'm actually just undoing that turn, letting it go. Keep this side of the fanny on the floor. Hook this arm inside and grab this part of your foot. Grab this part right there. Take this hand right behind you. Again, wedging the elbow in and twist the other way. You're giving now slack to the same muscles you just stretched. You're giving them a little slack, which is a good idea. I can pull with this here. I can push with this here. And then slide the bottom leg over so that, notice, it's straight across. Shoulder, shoulder. Then I take this ankle and put it right behind where the knee is. And it stays there. And this was tight, but it's definitely loosening. This is one of those poses that when people pass by, they say, but yoga's just a bunch of sitting around. Well, the people who find yoga most difficult are usually weightlifters and football players and people who only pull for a living or push for a living. Yoga is about letting go of any unnecessary tension and only using that which is necessary. So what's necessary right now is pulling gently right here so that my spine has that S curve we've talked about, where it goes in the low back, out in the just in the shoulder blades, in the cervical spine. That's what's necessary. So this little pull right there is necessary. Nothing here that's tension is necessary. This part of my body in the hips and ankles is receiving the stretch by the action of the pose leveraged against the ground and the pull of my abdominals to keep my spine in a neutral position, a natural curve that causes the stretch at the angle of my hip. Now, I take this leg and extend it out. These are all exercises we've been doing. Now notice that I moved my ankle in a little bit. That's because the bone digs into the floor. You don't have to suffer that. So we move it a little bit, the foot points a little bit, and it's comfy. Now, here I am, both sides. I want to shift my weight onto this. Remember the word ischium or ischial tuberosity? So my fanny is hovering, barely touching the ground on that side. On this side is where the weight is, on that little knob of bone that you feel if you're sitting on a school chair or a church pew. And I'm going to lean this way. So yes, I'm feeling it here, but I could feel it here if I'm reaching up. I want to drop in and make this angle between my abdominal waist on the side and my thigh. I want to make that angle more acute. And I want to make this angle very obtuse to get a good stretch that goes into this arch, because you have a hip bone here, part of the pelvis. This is called the iliac crest, superior iliac crest. And we want to stretch in there, and that lets go of things in our spine. It lets go of things again in our digestion, in our blood flow and circulation, and even in our lymph flow and circulation. So it's an important thing to open up. Now, just to feel good, remember I was talking about giving slack. Well, we stretched this intensely, but since we have to walk around and do normal life, and we want a little stabilization, say the ground isn't flat, and we wobble a little bit, we don't want our muscles to get startled while they're overstretched. So I'm just gonna reach across, bringing this hand back and this hand forward, to kind of go the opposite way just a little bit. Not so much that I overstretch it the other way, just enough that I give it slack. Now that means that for you, I might be here, you might be trying to do this here. And there's nothing wrong with not being in the same place where I am. So, remember, we sat down into this stretch, and we're gonna get the crook of the elbow around. Wait a minute, I'm doing the same leg. So we sat down into that exact stretch, and we're gonna do this stretch on the opposite side. So sitting tall, crook of the elbow around the thigh, and watch how I bring it in using my hand on the other, and I make it a support. Get a good deeper hold, and I'm going to slide the chest past this thigh, trying to relax this. I can really feel a deep stretch here in the hip, and it's between what's called the greater trochanter and the iliac crest, or not the iliac crest, it's the lower crest in the pelvis. Can't think of it right now. But it's between the top of the leg bone, the greater trochanter, and the inside edge where that muscle fans and attaches into the curve of the pelvis on the back side. So that is what causes a lot of sciatic pain. So this is a wonderful stretch for relieving that. Trying to relax this bend across that stretches around the corner. That's why we use angles in yoga. I'm going to take this hand, place it fingertips, ball of the hand, wedge that elbow in, and there I've got my support. I can pull here, and I can push there. Oh, that breeze feels fabulous. And slowly coming back, I'm going to take this hand to here because it gives me a pull. And I'm going to take this hand back here, and I'm going to wedge that elbow in just the same. And I don't have to twist as hard. Instead, it's almost like I'm leaning back into it because I'm just giving slack to the muscles that I just stretched so that they don't end up a little too loosey-goosey for walking around in a parking lot and over the curb at the grocery store. And then slowly here, sliding this leg out so that it's in front of hip and shoulder, in front of hip and shoulder. And then this one, right behind the knee. Just the little natural passive weight of my hands and the little pull from the abdominals. My spine feels lighter at the top because as soon as I do this, my body can sense that the sacral vertebrae are heavier, and they get lighter as they go up to the lumbar vertebrae and the thoracic vertebrae and the cervical vertebrae. So the heaviest line up in these curves until you no longer feel like your neck and head are heavy because gravity is not pulling them out of place, it's pulling them into place. Awesome. Who knew? Because we sit like this all the time. So instead, use the abdominals, make all of this passive, let all of this receive the stretch. Take this leg and extend it out. And my weight is over both sides. I'm going to think of pushing my hips that way. And now my weight is mostly over this side in that ischial tuberosity. And although my fanny is touching the ground on this side, I'm just kind of hovering there. Really only the flesh is touching. There's no weight on the bone. So I'm leaning this way. Breathing. Slowly getting the stretch here, not by reaching farther this way. The ribs are still here with the hip. I'm trying to crease and make this angle acute so that it stretches open inside of here. We want right in there to stretch open, and my spine right up here just popped because of that. So we want this right here that can become hard, and we want it to become soft. We're letting that become more open. Delicious breeze, thank God for that. And then to not overstretch, we're just gonna reach this arm forward, bring this one back a little bit so we can twist. Remember, if that looks like this for you, that is absolutely fine. And now, one last thing. If you know full bridge pose, well then you know full bridge pose, and we'll work on that more. But for low bridge pose, remember how I put my fingers down and the ball of my hand and I wedged my elbow in? Same thing here. I put my toes in close, and as I start to push down with the balls of my feet, I'm not lifting my hips on purpose. It just happens. There. Now I walk my shoulders together like this, away from my ears and toward each other. And then lengthen the neck and push up. Your chin should soon be on your chest. Melt, don't drop. There's so many more things to play with and do. Just take a few minutes to feel. Right now there may be a rush, a whoosh of blood and lymph flowing, bringing fresh oxygen and even nutrients and proteins. Even the calcium that's necessary for a muscle to uncontract or release. That chemical process requires calcium. So the blood is rushing all of those things, so just breathe and let the wisdom of your body do its own thing. Just observe